Let's go live. Oh man, this is what happens when you don't stream for a little bit. All I pretty much had to do was just I had to add my audio to let me delete this. Hold on. All I pretty much had to do was just add my audio, and I completely forgot to do that. Let me check if everything's straight. Add my audio, and I completely forgot. Yeah, so I'm using StreamYard. I obviously I really do like StreamYard, but yeah, I just completely I for complete. I obviously I want to turn that down. Yeah, I completely forgot about the whole adding your audio thing. So that's why I'm yelling into the fucking my computer like for 5 minutes. Hello, 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 with no volume. But you guys can hear me now. So yeah, how y'all doing? Who 186 back again with another video. And this is a video that I've been wanting to do for a couple of days, ever since WWE's latest cash grab. I don't know what they call it, Super Showdown, Saudi Showdown, whatever the fuck you call it. I'll talk about that and plus some other stuff too. Um, but first, if you don't follow me on Twitter. Hoovy186 is my handle, just like it is on Twitter. Actually, is it my handle or is it Hoovy123? Hoovy123, Hoovy186. Yeah, Hoovy123. That's my Twitter handle. If you don't know now, you know. Let me share this out real quick, and then we can get this thing started. All right, let me share this out. 1 second. Live. So there you go. All right. So yeah, let's get. I'm not gonna go over the whole show. Of Super Showdown. It happened this past Friday. I'm not gonna go over the whole results. I'm sure you guys know everything that happened. And let me address the first thing. Let me address the whole Goldberg thing, right? And the whole Goldberg and Fiend situation. Now, I used to be a huge fan of Goldberg. I actually still am a huge fan of Goldberg. Back in the day, around 97, 98. I think he came onto the scene around that time. So I was a fan of Goldberg. I was a big Goldberg mark. And I have nothing against Goldberg. I really don't. But I think okay, before I get to everything else, let me just say this. I'm a fan of Goldberg, right? And I'm not necessarily a fan of Bray Wyatt, right? Like I don't I'm more interested in the Mister Rogers portion of his character. I don't give a shit about the Fiend. I really don't. But if you're WWE, right, and you give Bray Wyatt, the keys to the gimmick, right, which I actually think is part of the problem here, and I'll explain that later. You give him the keys to the gimmick. He does his old thing. Like he does these fire funhouse vignettes, which some of them I've seen. Some of them are actually really good. You put him over against Finn Balor. You put him over in a shitty feud with Steph Rollins, right? And you put the belt on him. And then all of a sudden, right, instead of creating a dominant champion, and stuff like that, you decided to give the title to a guy, a 53-year-old guy who clearly cannot wrestle anymore, and you squash him. You didn't just beat the Fiend, you squash him, and you wonder why people don't give a shit about this company, myself included. You wonder why people are so fed up with this company. Now, truth be told, I don't even watch WWE anymore. Like I don't watch WWE. I haven't watched WWE. I haven't watched a full episode of a WWE event in probably like 2 years. Ever since I think it was the Raw 25 show. I've just kind of like I've completely checked out. I was never really a huge WWE WWF fan to begin with. Ever since I became a teenager. I haven't always hated WWE, but I've always had like a dislike for them. And in recent years, it's because of shit like this, right? Like, look, like I said before, I'm not a fan of the Bray Wyatt stuff. I really am not. I don't think he's a very good wrestler. I don't like the Fiend gimmick, but at the same time, you've invested all this time and energy on the guy, and for you guys to squash him, and this that's what it was. It was a squash. You squashed him in I don't know what was it, 60 seconds. No, not it was probably longer than that. And a shitty match, nothing but spears and shit like that for like what, like a minute. And you wonder why people don't give a shit about these characters. And the same thing. I can say the same thing about Brock Lesnar with Ricochet. They're completely burying Ricochet, and I could essentially say the same thing about AJ Styles and Undertaker. And now, granted, Undertaker. I mean, AJ Styles not necessarily a young guy. He's been at it for a long time. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time. And I'm sure their WrestleMania match is going to be at least halfway decent, only because of AJ Styles, right? But and the thing here's my problem with the guys, with the old guys, right? And it's not with the part timers. Let me just say the part timers, and it's not because those guys are old, right? And I'll explain it with my Jericho comment, with my Jericho stuff coming in later. My problem isn't necessarily with those guys. The problem that I have with this company is that they've done such a shitty job, and I think they're doing this on purpose. They've done such a shitty job of creating stars in this company. And the reason why I say they're doing this on purpose is because I do believe in my heart of hearts that they do not want to create the next Steve Austin, the next Rock, the next John Cena, right? The closest guy they have is Roman Reigns. But Roman Reigns right now, he's a name, right? He's not as big a star as John Cena, but he's the guy who Vince looks upon as the guy, right? I believe they're doing this on purpose because they don't want to lose. They don't want to create the next Stone Cold and then just lose him. I think what their goal is to have their name on the marquee, and this has been and it's been like this for a few years now. And to be honest with you, UFC is essentially doing the same thing, but the difference with UFC is that they need a Conor McGregor, right? Like they need a Conor McGregor. They need a I will probably obviously Jorge Masvidal is not on the same level, but he's close to it. Obviously, they need those guys for regional events to sell. Obviously Connor's a big global star, but they need those guys to sell paper, not pay per views, but sell ESPN plus subscriptions, right? So UFC, at least they still need some stars, but obviously the UFC's main thing is they want the brand to be the top thing, to be the main thing. And the same thing with WWE, and it worse than WWE. They want the brand to be the main event, not necessarily the wrestlers. That's why that's why you always have like weird shit from time to time when they'll put a world title match on first. Why? Because they're WWE. They can do that. You know what I mean? They'll put some random match last, and just for what do you call it, social media hits, right? Because that's what they do. WWE, they can do it. They can afford it. That's why they do it. So when I see the results of this show, 'cause I didn't watch the show. I had stuff to do, and plus I'm not watching. Like I said, I don't watch WWE. I look at the results, right, and I see Undertaker. After a gauntlet match, 30-minute plus gauntlet match, Undertaker comes in, chokeslams AJ, pins him. And that's it, right? Then doesn't even remove his gear or nothing like that. Just pins him 1, 2, 3. That's it, right? Knowing damn well is that if they went like 7, 8 minutes, then he wouldn't last because he's too old, like he's decrepit. We've seen him work, and I'm not trying to drag down the Undertaker. I am just stating a fact. He can't go anymore. He can't. Brock Lesnar. I think Brock Lesnar can still contribute. He can still be part on full time competitor. But why should he be? If WWE is gonna pay him to make a handful of appearances a year and have these 2 or 3 minute matches, what the fuck does it matter? Why would he care? Fuck is that? Okay. Anyways, why would he care? Same thing with Goldberg. You know what I mean? Like again, it's not necessarily about them. It's about the company. Because the reason why people don't get over is because you have these guys who are and I follow a lot of these guys throughout their careers, right? I know that those guys are talented. Do they have the same charisma as a Rock or Stone Cold or Kurt Angle in the past? Maybe not. But guess what? They're not going to get the opportunity to showcase that because the one thing that a lot of people don't seem to realize is when you look at what's going on with AEW, right? You look at this with even to a lesser extent NWA Power, right? New Japan. The one thing that those companies can do that WWE for some reason can't do or can't do for most of their talent is make people care about their talent. Make people care about the character. Make people care about the storylines. For this stupid company who claims to be storytellers, they do such a shitty job at that. At that. Here you have an unbeatable monster and Bray Wyatt, aka the Fiend, right? Dude, no sells everything. Got hit with a goddamn mallet and still popped up. But yet, when Goldberg hits him with 4 spears, hits him with a goddamn not even a jackhammer, hit him with a fucking like a fisherman brainbuster or something like that, pins the guy in a couple minutes, and you think that because he sat right back up means that people forgot. No, it's a loss. They don't tell WWE doesn't tell stories in the ring. They don't. They just book stupid shit for Vince McMahon. Because at the end of the day, their thing is this, right? We have to get the biggest names in WrestleMania, which I understand to an extent. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why your guys aren't over. There's a reason why they're not over because they lose like for most of the mid card they lose half their matches in matches that don't matter. And for some of your top guys outside of Roman Reigns, those guys they get squashed. They get squashed in 2 3 minutes, and then especially when it comes to the Fiend, he doesn't address anything of the sort. He just goes out there, goes for his next target, which is Cena, points at the sign, which is something that every monster does, points at a fucking sign. And people think that they're supposed to buy into this fucking character. How am I supposed to buy into this character? How are people supposed to invest into these wrestlers when you treat them like the bronies? When you treat them like they don't like they're second rate when they don't matter. They're never gonna get over that way. They're never ever gonna get over that way. How bad does it make Finn Balor look? How bad does it make Seth Rollins look when they did everything in their power to put this fucking guy over, and yet you let a 53-year-old part timer who sucking wind 2 seconds into a match, pin him in fair and square in the middle of the ring. It makes them look bad. It makes the company look bad. And then the whole thing with Ricochet, like, look, I didn't expect him to have like this 20-minute classic match with Brock Lesnar. But you know what I did expect? I expected him to have a match of the same quality that Brock had with AJ Styles, that he had with Daniel Bryan, that he had with Finn Balor. Like, why? Like, he goes in, he charges in, gets German suplex a couple times, F5, that's it. And the company is telling you throughout the week that this dude has no chance. This dude had no chance, and then he loses in 60 seconds. So how are you supposed to recover after that? How are people supposed to look at this character and be like, "Oh man, I can't wait to see this guy next match," where he loses in a fucking, in a match against a dude I've never heard of for a title that means absolute dog shit. You know what I mean? Like they do everything in their power to bury these guys. It doesn't make any sense, and it's why I don't watch. Because for me, the reason why I got back into wrestling is because like I want to be emotionally invested into these characters. Like with NWA Power, no, I'll admit NWA Power hasn't been as good the last couple weeks. But I look at I discover guys like Ricky Starks, even the lady wrestlers like Thunder Rosa, Camille. These are all characters that I care about. I want to see what happens next in their story. In their story arcs, who they're fighting next, the storyline behind it. Same thing, especially with AEW, right? Like you look at all the stuff going on with Moxley and Jericho, Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. Like I care about these characters, and the fans respond to it, and the fans respond to it. You know what I mean? Like and you look at what WB does, mainly obviously Raw and SmackDown. And yeah, they'll pop for a title win or whatever. Like I know that the Street Profits won the tag team titles. I believe it was on Monday or whatever. But what's next after that? You know what I mean? Like they're like more than likely they're gonna have a weak title run. With really no established tag team to face. They'll lose the tag team title match in a meaningless TV match or whatever. No one's gonna care because they don't put the emphasis to talk about these characters and let these characters show off. They just have them do these stupid skits that nobody thinks is funny, and you wonder why these guys don't get over. Because at the end of the day, they lose half the matches they're in the important matches that they're in, they lose in 60 seconds. So how is someone like the Fiend supposed to regain his mystique by beating John Cena? Like okay, obviously he's having a match against John Cena. Like they had the perfect story right there. You could have done, and I'm not a fan of John Cena either, but you could have done the story for for the title of you know John Cena going after the record 17th title versus the Fiend trying to gain revenge for what happened at WrestleMania. I believe it was WrestleMania 30, where Cena beat him, inexplicably beat him. Right? You can have Bray Wyatt trace all the stuff that went downhill in his career. He can trace all this stuff that he's done with the Firehouse Funhouse to that match with John Cena. That would have been a cool story. The match may not have been great, but at the very least, you have a cool story, and you have people emotionally invested in the outcome. Now, I think they can still do that, but like how? But like seriously, how seriously can I take a character who loses his title in 2 minutes to Goldberg and doesn't even give a shit about it the next day? He just comes out, points at the fucking sign, in front of John Cena. Like how am I supposed to care about that? It's not storytelling. It's just moving shit along for the sake of moving shit along. You know what I mean? Like I've seen Ricochet have some of the best matches of all time. Not of all time, but like have some of the most insane aerial, spot fest you can say of all time. This guy's immensely talented. I seen one guy on Twitter saying, "Oh well, he's dealing with this because he can't speak, he can't talk, he can't cut a promo." But I mean, you fucking knew that before when you signed him. You know what I mean? Like it's as if WWE is signing guys just to sign guys. I put quotation marks there, but I mean, you know who these guys are. You know like what their strengths and weaknesses are. And the thing is that when it comes to WWE, they don't care about that. They just put you out there, see if you get a reaction. If it's not what they want, then they're not going to do anything with you. That's what it is. And to me, I can't get invested into that. I can't get invested into that. So enough about like. Let me just also say this, right? Because I'm done talking about Super Showdown. But the one thing I seen this one person, this other person on Twitter, and she said she basically made the comparison that everyone talks about Goldberg, well, what about Chris Jericho and this and that? And I'm like, first of all, do not compare WB part timers to Chris Jericho because they're not the same. First off, unlike all three of those guys, like with the exception of Brock Lesnar, with the exception of Brock Lesnar, Undertaker and Goldberg, they can't have good matches anymore. They can't. Their bodies are physically unable to do it. Maybe they can do it once in a blue moon, but they can't do it as consistently as Jericho has done it at age 49. And yes, I'll admit Jericho's not the same guy he was, 10 years ago. He may not even be the same guy he was 5 years ago. But the one thing that you cannot deny is one, he had done such an excellent job as world champion for AEW. Every segment he's in is must see TV. You know what I mean? Like all the stuff to the celebration that he's done, and the other thing that he's done that Goldberg and Undertaker don't do is that he's elevated talent. Look at Scorpio Sky, the first guy to ever pin him in AEW, Jungle Boy. He's elevated him. He's elevated Darby Allin. Why? Not because he let them beat them. Like obviously he has pinfall victories over all three of those guys. But you see, when you put him in competitive matches, good competitive matches, you elevate these guys by hanging with the champion. We're hanging with a living legend like Chris Jericho, right? Chris Jericho's there full time. He always has a vested interest in seeing AEW succeed. You think Goldberg gives a shit about WWE? No. I think Undertaker does. I think he does, obviously. But he doesn't care enough to be there 24 to be there every week. He can't do it. His body won't allow him to do it. And obviously Brock Lesnar don't give a shit. Like all they care about is the payday. That's all they care about is the payday. And again, I don't blame them for it. But no, they're not the same as Chris Jericho. Because Chris Jericho, at the end of the day, he cares about AEW. He wants to see the company succeed, and he still can have a great match. He had a great match against Hiroshi Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom. He's had great matches. He's gone 30 plus minutes. Is he the same guy he was 5, 10 years ago? No. But at the end of the day, he's still there. He's still elevating talent, and him being the world champion has been a huge success for AEW. You can't deny that. So when I hear people try to compare the two, I'm like, are you guys stupid? Because they're not the same. Not even close to being the same. So before I go, let me also address the whole Orange Cassidy thing. I watched his match with Pac, and I'm a big fan of Orange Cassidy. The reason why I'm a big fan of Orange Cassidy because I think he's funny. I think the mannerisms are funny. I think some of the it's a lot of the subtle things that he does is really really funny, right? And comedy and wrestling is always very um it's hard to judge because obviously just like regular comedies, like some people comedy is subjective, right? I'm a big fan of Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, but I don't get people like Cat Williams and even to a lesser extent Kevin Hart. Like I'm not fans of those guys, but I know people who think Cat Williams is hilarious. Same thing with wrestling. Like obviously big fan of Orange Cassidy. I guess I would say one of my favorite all time comedy wrestlers is Colt Cabana. But someone like a Santino Marella, I don't get Santino Marella. I don't get him. But the one thing I won't say is that Santino Marella is killing the business. Like this talk that I hear from some people about how he killing the business and this and that, and people getting like upset about Orange Cassidy and the way he does his wrestling is so stupid, especially when I saw on Twitter Eric Rowan pull out a goddamn fake spider. And apparently that's been the thing that's been in his cage for the last couple weeks. How the fuck am I supposed to find that? Like, is that what am I supposed to think of that? Something so obviously fake that like that's not killing the business? A goddamn fake spider? But yet Orange Cassidy wrestling, the way that he wrestles, is somehow a joke. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. And here's the thing about Orange Cassidy, and there is a documentary. It's very short, like 7-8 minutes. Hopefully, if I remember, I'll put it in the description for people who haven't seen it. And what he said was very, very smart, and something that I've been knew, but obviously, it sounds better coming from him. Is that if he had just been a regular traditional wrestler, right? Got the short, the tights, boots, kick pads, maybe he'd just be another guy. He would just be another wrestler. He would just be another one of those flippy guys. You know what I mean? Those spot monkeys, right? No, he decided, you know what? Let me try to do something different, right? Let me try to create this quote slacker gimmick and see if it gets over. And it's over. If you've seen that match that he had with Pac at Revolution, that match was awesome. I love that match. I've seen that match twice because I love this. I love the spots that he does where he's being kind of lazy, and then he'll just turn it up like that, catch Pac by surprise. It's a great match. If you haven't seen it, watch the match. It's a great match. And the other thing that I like about the Orange Cassidy gimmick, people are noticing. People are noticing Orange Cassidy, and even guys like MJF, AEW in general. They're noticing these people, and that's a win-win. Like Katie Nolan, who for those of you who don't know, Katie Nolan, she works at ESPN. She's well known ESPN personality, right? Female. I'm probably very very good looking woman, right? I know that's not really relevant, but I just want to say it. She tweeted about Orange Cassidy. Now remember, ESPN. I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily that they're in bed with WWE, but most WWE news they'll break. They're in, I mean, fuck it. They're in bed with WWE, and she's tweeting about Orange Cassidy, right? I have one of my best friends who really doesn't watch wrestling anymore. He heard about Orange Cassidy, saw the match he had with Pac, and he asked me about him. He's like, and I told him, yo, that dude's awesome, right? And like, yeah, and he liked the gimmick. When you see, here's the thing, and pro wrestling, and trust me, I'm old enough to remember the Attitude Era. When you get people who don't watch wrestling noticing the wrestlers, that's a win. Obviously, you don't want them noticing the stupid shit, like giant spiders and shit like that. But when they notice guys like Orange Cassidy, when they notice guys like MJF, when they notice guys like Kenny Omega, that's a win for the company. That's how you build a company. That's how you build excitement. That's how you build you know when you get when you bring a company when I'm sorry, I'm kind of distracted. Um when your company creates buzz, that's how they create buzz with your wrestlers and their personality. The stuff that if you follow MJF is one of the best Twitter follows on the planet Earth. That dude doesn't give a fuck. At least the character does not give a fuck about anything. I'm telling you, these guys are getting noticed. A lot of the mid card guys in AEW, those guys are getting noticed. From your Orange Cassidys to your Darby Allens to your Sammy Guevara's, those guys are getting noticed, and the company embraces that. And I feel like there are times that WWE discourages their talent from standing out so that they don't fuck up with their plans. You know what I mean? You look at in the past, I can name a whole bunch of wrestlers in the past whose push got fucked over because it wasn't part of their plans, or WWE kind of just beat the dead horse to the ground. You have Zack Ryder, Fandango. They couldn't do it with they fuck first. Honestly, they did it with fucking CM Punk. They even did it with CM Punk, and they ultimately did it with Dan O'Brien. You know what I mean? Like, and there's this a list and list, a laundry list of other shit that company done to quell the to like dim the fire of their talent, at least the talent that they don't want to get over as much as their chosen guy, which whether it was Cena or Roman Reigns. That's a fact. So I mean that's about it, man. Like, I have to get ready to go to work soon, so I'm out. Thank you guys for watching. I'm out. Peace.